Hello, what's up guys? I'm Kyle from KGR, and this is a Sonic the Hedgehog 2 5-figure pack in the 2.5-inch scale. Now I picked this up because this was actually available to order on Target's website, so doing a store pickup for it was real easy. So if you want to do that yourself, I'll provide a link in the description for that. Also, you can get all the characters in one well swoop, so you're done. And I also really wanted to see how well it would scale next to the Jazwares figures, because the Jazwares figures are like my primary collection for Sonic action figures. Plus, I just want to buy as much Sonic 2 merch as I can because I'm so excited for this movie. But before I get into the review, I want to mention a few things. Number one, next week I'm going to be doing a review on the Sonic and Tails with the Tornado. I managed to get a hold of one of those, so if you want to see that review, make sure you sub. Also, last week I did a review on the whole first wave of the 4-inch figures, so if you missed out, you can click right up here. And also, question of the day, did you see the new Sonic trailer? We got the last trailer, and I watched it before I started recording this video, and oh man, I'm so excited. I cannot wait for this movie. Alright, so now back to the review. Let's take a look at the box before we open it up and actually take a look at the figures inside. So first up, we get to see all 4 characters as well as a Buzz Bomber with the little window display right here. All the figures are tied down when you first get this brand new, so that's a little annoying, but in the packaging, as you can see right now, they're not, because I've already opened this. I've already played with these a little bit. Then on each side, we get a stance of Sonic, and he looks great. The top, we get to see the Sonic 2 movie logo, as well as a render from the first movie. I don't know why they do that on the marketing material, but I dig it. It looks great. The bottom, we got some legal mumbo jumbo, and then on the back, we get to see prototypes of what the characters originally look like, as well as the Buzz Bomber. And for the most part, they look pretty close. But Knuckles has silver on the bottom of his shoes for some reason, and Robotnik looks a little bit better on the prototype than this figure, but the figures for the most part look fantastic. It's a very small scale figure, so getting the paint applications like that perfect compared to the prototypes, a little difficult, but for a 2.5-inch scale, they look fantastic. But now, let's bust these open, get them out of the box, and let's take a closer look, and we're also going to compare it to other characters. We're going to compare it to the 4-inch line, the Jazwares, and the 2.5-inch regular Jakks Sonic figure. And here they are all next to each other, and as you can tell, they actually look really good, especially Eggman, or Robotnik. I apologize. But anyway, they all look fantastic next to each other. Like, on camera, they look bigger than what they really are, but believe me, they're tiny. I'll compare them to all of their 4-inch counterparts as well. But let's get into this review. Let's take a look at each individual one, and then we'll break it down from there. Now let's start with the main blue boy right here. As you could tell, even though he's only 2.5 inches tall, he looks so close to how he looks with the 4-inch figure. The only thing he's missing is the elbow and knee articulation and all the detail that you would see on the bottom of the shoes. There's a little bit of attention there with in his heels around the peg holes. You can see the treads on his shoes a little bit there, but obviously with a little illegal information on the palms or whatever, they couldn't have that detail there. But besides that, he looks absolutely fantastic. Even the little details in the socks, that attention to detail is still there. The way the shoes look, they still look really good. All the spines are there, just like the 4-inch figure. We do get a little bit of molding right there, a little spot right there. That's a little ugly, but that's probably going to vary from figure to figure. I'm not sure if all of them are going to have that or not. And just like the 4-inch figure in my original review, you get that little notch on the side of his little soul patch right here. I guess all the figures are going to do that. But they captured Sonic really well here. When it comes to articulation, obviously you get your little head swivel right here, universal shoulders. The joints are a little tight. They're not really bad at all. They don't lock like the 4-inch versions. You have complete free motion in these movements. And then same thing with the hips. You can move them anywhere you need to. And unfortunately, we have no wrist, no ankle movement. It's just shoulders, hips, and head. But for a 2.5-inch figure, this is more than enough. He has grips in his hands, but there's nothing for him to grip onto just yet. They might release some additional versions of these figures with accessories. I'm not entirely sure what they're going to do with that. But, I mean, we'll see what happens. But overall, yeah, Sonic looks solid. Now let's move on to Tails. And here's our favorite little fox. The main complaint I had with the 4-inch figure is that the tails, they stuck down too low past his feet. The 2.5-inch thankfully doesn't deal with that problem. It's at a good height, so you can have him rely on his tails, no problem, and he'll still be facing forward relatively well. It looks like the paint on his belly is a little bit faint. It kind of looks a little faded. You can see a little bit of like yellow past that. Again, that's probably gonna vary from figure to figure. So when you get your figure or your pack, I should say, make sure you inspect each individual figure and make sure it looks good. But just like Sonic, the detail is all there. It looks beautiful. All the articulation is exactly the same, just like the Sonic, except this one you can also move his tails. In the package, they go standing up like that, but it's best to keep them down like that so you can actually stand up. His elbows are pre-bent, so that's the pose you're going to have to deal with for a bit. But when you see him in the tornado, it's a good reason they have him pose like this. And the tails in that set is actually going to be a little different, so look out for that in next week's review. If you found the 4-inch tails to be cute, you're going to find this one just as cute, if not cuter. So now let's move on to Knuckles. So here's our tough boy. He looks a little different compared to the 4-inch variant. The pupils look a little bit thinner or smaller compared to the 4-inch one, but I'll show that when I do the direct comparisons shortly here. But besides that, I mean, it's Knuckles. He looks great. You got the metallic Legos on his shoes. The bottom of his boots don't have as much detail compared to the 4-inch, but it's as equivalent as Sonic. All the articulations there as well, just like Sonic, except he has the same problem as the 4-inch figure, or any Knuckles figure, where you can't really move the head all that much because of his quills, but his shoulders and his hips are still all universal. Again, no locking mechanism like the 4-inch variants. This one is just free roaming as much as you want it to be. The faint paint on the moon crest still looks really good, but doing all the dynamic poses that you'd want to do with the 4-inch figures, you can't really do too well here. You can still pose them, but it's not going to look as good as what you would get from the 4-inch figures. So if you really want to actually pose these figures and actually have like a lot of fun with them, the 4-inch figures are the way to go. But if you do want to just have a small figure collection, these 2.5-inch figures aren't bad. I like them. But yeah, Knuckles, again, he looks really good. The face looks a little derpy, just like the 4-inch variant, but when he's looking from the side, he looks even more angry compared to the 4-inch figure, and I really like the way it looks. Now let's move on to Robotnik. Now, Robotnik is the weird one out of the bunch, mainly because his small scale is so weird. Like, they might make an Eggmobile set, which I know they are making one. It's just I don't know if it's in the 4-inch or the 2-inch scale. If it's in the 2-inch scale, then I can see why he's necessary. And I can understand why they made him. But, like, compared to the 4-inch version, I mean, he's there. He's not as cool as the 4-inch one. The 4-inch one is really awesome looking. But the 4-inch Eggman or Robotnik actually looks really good next to the 2.5-inch figures, and I'll get into that here soon as well. But if you want a small Jim Carrey figure on your desk, I mean, now he has a purpose because he looks really great. I like him. But in this set, like just like the 4-inch figures, it doesn't scale all too well, so it really feels out of place. But I still like the way he looks. Like all of his little gold trimming paints, they're all still there, just like on the 4-inch figure. It really does feel like that these figures just got shrunken down and just lost a couple of points articulation, but like they translate really well from 4 to 2.5-inch. And I'm gonna throw the Buzz Bomber in here because like it just goes well with Robotnik. I mean, it doesn't move, it doesn't do anything at all, it just sits there, but he comes with a stand, so I'm thankful for that. But there he is. He looks all right. And he's very out of focus because they want to focus on Jim Carrey, because during the first movie, that's who we mostly focused on. Let's be real. But anyway, let's focus on this one. I mean, he looks good. I don't really know what else to say about that. He's just there to look good. I can't wait to see the movie. I can't wait to see how many of these we're gonna see in the movie. I'm excited to see what other badniks we're gonna see in the movie. But we got this. We got the Death Egg robot. I'm excited to see that. But man, there he is. But let's compare these to some other figures real quick. So here he is next to a standard Jakks 2.5-inch, as well as the Jazwares about 3 to 4-inch figure. He does stand a little short compared to the both of them, mainly because of how the proportions work in that movie compared to what a regular Sonic would look like. So I think he still stands well next to them. Obviously they're not the exact same size, but I think they would still look great on a shelf all next to each other. Here he is next to a Tomy Sonic. I'll be real with you, I don't really care about the Tomy Sonic figure all that much. I didn't really collect much in the line. Hindsight being 2020, these are some of the ugliest Sonic figures that we've had recently. So it's a shame because Tomy tried, but no. And here are the two Sonics, the 2.5 inch and the 4 inch, both by Jakks, obviously. As you can tell, the 4 inch one does capture more detail in comparison, but the 2.5 inch still looks fantastic. The 4 inch ones are technically the definitive figures out of the sets, but there's nothing wrong with getting the 2.5 inch ones because you get all the characters for $20, so I think it's a good deal. But if you want that detail, the 4 inch ones are actually really good looking. Here are the two tails next to each other. To be honest, the eyes look a lot cuter on the 4 inch one, but they both do look really great. I do like these figures. Looking at the two Knuckles, it looks like the small ones in elementary school and the bigger ones in like middle school or high school, and they're about to show up to a bully that was picking on the smaller one. That's the vibe I'm getting in this one. But like I said, the pupils on the bigger figure look bigger and they just look better. Again, the 2.5 one looks alright, but again, the 4 inch ones are the better figures. And here are the two Robotniks. The 4.5 inch one like seems to actually have a mouth. The 2.5 inch one doesn't really have a mouth all that much. And obviously he has coffee. I like the fact that he comes with coffee. So again, like the mini Robotnik just feels so out of place. It's silly. But I do have one more comparison to show you. Now, when you have the 2.5 Sonic, Tails, and Knuckles next to a 4 inch Robotnik, the scaling seems so right. I feel like if you're going to display these on your shelf and you want scaling to matter, this is how it should look. Although you're going to miss all the detail that the 4 inch figures have, this looks fantastic. Like if you're going to like do like a stop motion for the movie, I guess, this is the way you should probably go. And then if you want to do like up close dynamic shots, then bring in the 4 inch ones for your stop motions to make sure you're battling each other or doing character to character interactions just fine. But when you have all 4 characters like this is how it should look. So overall, what are my thoughts on this figure set? Although the 4 inch figures are technically the definitive figures, they are the better figures, I think there is still a market for the 2.5 inch ones. I think they do belong in someone's collection. Like I said, like they still blend in half decently well with the Jazwares figures. For the 2.5 inch scale collectibles, like they're fine as well. But I think they primarily look fantastic when you pair them with the 4 inch Robotnik. Then the scaling seems perfect and that will look fantastic on your shelf. Besides, they're going to be coming out with more sets and they're probably going to go towards the 2.5 inch line because I know the Tornado set is going to be in the 2.5 inch. But let me know in the comments which set would you rather have. And that's it for my review. So if you're new and you like what you saw, you know what to do. In the description is going to be my social media. Let me know in the comments how excited you are for the movie. Do you plan on picking these up? And like I said, if you want these, they are going to be in the description through the Target link. Thank you for watching. I love you guys to death and I'll see you on the next one. So peace.